everyone, welcome back. This is another of our How to Do It segments, and we're going to teach you how to use a very, very important little tool. In fact, it's an essential tool for what we call nutrition farming. It's a little tool called a refractometer. Now, it looks like a little sawn-off telescope. You use a garlic crusher, you crush some sap from the plant, you drop it on this little sloping face, you hold it up to the sunlight, the light refracts through, hence the term refractometer, refracts through the dissolved solids present in that plant. And what you're doing effectively is measuring your skills as a chlorophyll manager. The better you manage chlorophyll, the green pigment that houses the chloroplasts, the little sugar factories that produce the glucose that grows stuff, the better you manage that, the more profitable, the less disease problems, the less pest problems and so forth. So it's a really, really important little tool to see how well you're doing effectively. But it's not just measuring dissolved solids. Refractometers have several other purposes. Of course, those dissolved solids include things like sugars. You're measuring sugars very obviously, but almost inevitably, high sugars means high minerals that produce the chlorophyll density that created the sugars, so they go hand in hand, and amino acids can be measured amongst those dissolved solids. So you're really measuring nutrient density, you're measuring the value of the food you're growing. Now, we're standing in the midst of a ginger crop on one of our research farms, and this is a ginger crop grown in the midst of nut grass, which people said you couldn't do, and we chose to do it because we're not using chemicals. There's nothing that works on nut grass except chemicals, so we grew the ginger in the middle of a nut grass paddock. We were short of paddocks, admittedly, but the ginger's done well, and we're going to monitor that ginger, and we're going to teach you how to use a refractometer using the ginger plant. So, starting point is, where do you take your leaf samples from? You choose the first fully developed leaf. Now, on a ginger plant, you've got a stem with a whole variety of leaves, so you're going to take the first leaf, the first fully developed leaf, so that leaf, and you're going to get several of those leaves from several plants. So you're going to take the first fully developed leaf on several ginger plants, and then we'll teach you, with the help of Karl, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to roll this together. I'll just put this between my legs. We're going to roll this together and bruise it a little, which makes it easier to get the sap out of it. First of all, no, we'll put this little, I've got this other little trick first. Now, before we do that, there's a little trick that I only learned 2 or 3 years back, because very often you'll crush that plant material and you'll get a bunch of mincemeat and there's no juice. And so one of my agronomist friends, a guy called Steve Capeness, taught me this little trick that you go to a curtain shop, you buy a meter of gauze, just this sort of synthetic fabric that you line curtains with, cut your little squares, and you put that gauze or gauze inside and isolate that mincemeat, and then you'll get just juice when you squeeze it. So Karl's going to kindly squeeze this for me. I get a few drops of juice on the face of the refractometer, hopefully. And sometimes it can be quite difficult, and this is certainly one of those times. This is quite common. This is the end of the season for the ginger. That's why it doesn't look 100%, because it's about to die off. It's very soon will be harvested. So it's begun the die-off process, hence some dead leaves and so forth, but there's not as much juice as there would normally be for that reason. Oh, he's got a bit this time. That's good, that's great. It's got a good dose of juice on there. We spread the juice and we hold it up to the light to see what kind of reading we're getting. And it's quite reasonable considering what were you looking at when you look through a refractometer, because you can't see down the screen. What you're looking at in effect is like an old school fuel tank. You've got a 0 to 32 brix axis, and where the two hemispheres meet, in that instance, it's quite hard to tell because it's a very, very blurry intersection between the two hemispheres, but it looks like it meets on about 12. And the other look that you don't want to have is this very sharp intersection, this very sharp dissecting line. And this is the other benefit, and it's a very valuable benefit of a refractometer. The refractometer is quite a valuable and quite an applicable measurement of calcium, because what you never want to see is this sharp intersection, this sharp line. It will always be a low brix level, as it is here. It's only 4. It crosses on the 4 on the axis, so it's 4 degrees brix. and that's bad. And part of the reason that it's low is because calcium, the trucker of all minerals, is missing. It's not carrying the nutrients into that plant to give you that nutrient density that you're measuring. So you never want to see a sharp line. You always want to have this very blurry intersection between the two hemispheres. That's what you're chasing. The blurrier the better. Sometimes they're so blurry that you can't even tell whether it's 12 or 13, the brix level, because it's so blurry, and that's good. The more blurry, the better. So we've got a calcium meter, we've got a measurement of your skills as a chlorophyll manager, nutrient density in the plant, we're measuring dissolved solids. You can also use it for some other things. You can check inputs. You can say, okay, I think this plant looks to me like it needs a little bit of potassium to size up those tubers. And so basically you can spray some potassium onto even just a single plant to see if you were correct with your assumption. And if you get a significant brix increase, like 2-3 degrees minimum, that was a good choice. If it was a wrong choice, you can actually apply something that drops brix levels. You put nitrogen on here now when they don't need nitrogen at this stage, and brix can drop from 12 down to 9, for example. But so it can be used to verify what you want to use. And you can also compare products, what gives you the best brix jump. And of course, we've done that with the development of all the Nutritech products. So we've even got a product called Brix Fix that is very, very effective at lifting brix levels using a whole bunch of natural hormones and so forth, including triacontinol. Now, we've got a calcium meter, we're measuring nutrient density. We can also check the overall health of the plant by not just measuring that first fully developed leaf, but actually taking leaves from the bottom, from the sides, from the top. And if the plant is well balanced, there should be a similar brix level throughout. If there's a huge variation between the top and the bottom or either side of the plant, then we need to look a little further at what imbalance is creating that varying brix levels throughout the plant. And finally, with brix levels, we can also use it to monitor boron. Now, there's a little trapdoor that opens in the little sugar factory called the chloroplast, and that trapdoor opens about 5 o'clock every evening and takes all of the sugars that were produced in the sugar factory, and the trapdoor opens and they're translocated around the leaf, and of course half of that sugar is translocated to the roots, and quite a percentage, 60% of that half, is given away, is spewed out from the roots to feed the surrounding soil life. So basically that trapdoor opening is governed by one mineral, and that mineral is boron. And what you can do, and you don't see it often, but you see it reasonably often, and it needs to be a fairly serious boron deficiency to create this scenario, but you test your brix in the afternoon, say it's 12, and you come and check next morning. Now, always should be lower. You're measuring sugars. Half of those sugars have been translocated to the roots. It has to be lower at 6 o'clock in the morning. 12 becomes 9 or 10 sort of thing. You measure first thing in the morning and it's 12 still, there's a problem. Your plant is effectively constipated, you're not translocating sugars, and not always, but very commonly, that relates to a shortage of boron. And you need to get in with some boron quite soon, because you've stopped feeding the roots, you've stopped feeding the organisms around the roots, and the wheels fall off shortly thereafter. So it's a very handy thing to keep in the front of your ute, in the front pocket, pull out and do little checks just to see how you're progressing at any given point of the season. Okay, so we've just completed our segment of the refractometer and measuring the quality of the ginger that we're producing. And of course, it's ginger, as I mentioned, grown in a paddock full of nutgrass, which is a real no-no. It's not something that's supposed to be done. So we're going to pull up some ginger. It's almost ready for harvest, and we're going to see how we did with that competition. Okay, Karl, perhaps you can pull up a plant for me. Wow. Well done. You can hold that up if you want, if you're strong enough. So we can see here that we've got, some wonderful ginger here. There's at least 2 kilos per plant, maybe more. You can see there, it's a beautiful piece of ginger if we break it up a bit. There we go. Yeah, so that's ginger in a paddock of nutgrass. Beautiful ginger. Thank you.